a writer in a Coney Island basement. He was the tallest, the angriest, and the quietest of all the boys. When he spoke, they listened. It was his furious silence that scared me the most. I was 15 years old and he was somewhat older, the prototypical cool guy of the crowd who scored the best pot, was the first to discover jazz, and probably the only one to leave Seagate. He found an apartment in the Village, where he still lives, a place he still calls his pad, and he also still digs on things, refers to Amiri Baraka as Roy, and calls all women baby. My friend Corinne was his girlfriend, and they were in love in that kind of intense first love, where they'd sit backs against the wall on a windy boardwalk, walk with her hand in his back pocket, always entwined, even when they were fighting, maybe especially when they were fighting. A dramatic reunion was sure to follow until the day that it didn't, and they slowly and painfully unwound. It's impossible to say who surrendered first. I lost track of them both until one night, about 30 years later, sitting at a round table in Sammy Wu's on 6th Avenue with a group of acquaintances, I talked to a writer whom I'd known casually for a few years, and then he mentioned the name Corinne, and it was the first time I'd identified him as that guy in the basement. That's when I privately named him the writer. He didn't really remember me, probably because I always wisely stood out of his way, thinking he might blame me for Corinne's disappearances. We struck up a friendship, and he even fell a little bit in love with me, but it was too late. Just something that could have been something, if not for our timing, worse than any hack drummers. These days, he sits in that same apartment, unable to navigate the 2 flights of stairs with his oxygen and walker. The ceiling's peeling, the brown walls are stained from years of cigarettes, the windows are too dirty to let in much light, but you can still make out shelves of books, stacks of jazz records, the sagging couch where Cecil Taylor once sat, along with many other musicians he still calls cats. I bring him a few pastries from Veniero's, where we often met when he was mobile. We drink coffee, and we talk about books and writing, and we even talk a little bit about Corinne. Corinne, with her green eyes and whispery voice. Beautiful Corinne, struck down by depression, who gained 200 pounds eating the desserts they saved along with meds during her frequent hospitalizations. Sweet Corinne, who had jumped out the window of a low-rent SRO 20 years earlier. After an hour or two, he retires, and I leave, promising another visit soon. Maybe we'll finally get his last poetry collection out. With capacities diminishing as I watch, he reflects on his past and says that all in all, it's been a good life. Wonderful women, great music. He always worked, and he still has a couple of letters from Bukowski stuffed in the dresser drawer. I've been a lucky guy, he says, looking around the stuffy room in late afternoon dimness, tubes wrapped around his desk chair legs, 45 years of cigarette smoke in the air, deep breaths filled with dust, 2 short flights impassable without assistance. I've had a good life, he concludes. I'm one of the luckiest guys alive.